Hi, I'm Deep.
I'm Jose.
And we're your token theater friends, people who love theater too much and will actually now travel to see it. We're at the Richard B. Fisher Center for the Performing Arts at Bard College, where they're currently doing... What are they doing, Jose?
They're doing Leonard Bernstein's Peter Pan, which no one has done in over 2004 years.
That's not an accurate statement, so please fact check that. And then after we see the show and talk to Erin Markey, who plays Wendy in Peter Pan, what are we doing next?
We are going to the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival to see The Heart of Robin Hood.
Our first interview is with Erin Markey, who was in the revival of Assassins last year at New York City Center. They're also an amazing performer, singer-songwriter, theater creator, whose credits include A Ride on the Irish Cream and Singlet. So check it out.
Peter, Peter, you've got a smudge on your face. Allow me, Peter, Peter, to wipe it away. I know it's just a poor excuse to feel your touch, but I want to feel your touch. Peter, Peter, your hair is so out of place. Allow me, Peter, Peter.
Erin, thank you for joining us. That performance was just mind-blowing. So can you describe what this Peter Pan is like for our viewers?
Yeah. This Peter Pan is a sort of it acknowledges the kind of dark tones in the music of Bernstein and really lets them kind of extend into J.M. Barrie's also dark play that gets a light touch often. So we're sort of acknowledging the shadows, I guess, in this production, and acknowledging them with a very vibrant color.
I have to admit that I've never been a big fan of Peter Pan, the story, just because I found it to be very male-centric and male-dominated. But then when I heard that you were playing Wendy, I thought, okay, I have to go see this because there's going to be something deeper here than just another tale about a boy who never grows up. And so, what was your first... Did you enjoy Peter Pan growing up?
My Peter Pan that I watched growing up was the Sandy Duncan version of the Mary Martin Peter Pan. So when this was first on my radar... I definitely thought it was that production. When I heard the music, I was like, wait a second, where's Tender Shepherd? And I won't grow up. But anyways, when they told me that it was going to center around Wendy and her journey, I got really excited that we could take these classic narratives that are so steeped in... white patriarchy and start to twist them, because it doesn't take a lot to shine a light on another character's story. It really doesn't. It just takes the willingness of the human beings involved, and these are myths that we're all raised with. I mean, Peter Pan is basically a myth. So to define that myth for my brain and body, which the myth is inside of my bones at this point, is a transformational experience. I don't know what it's like for the audience, but I'm not doing it for them.
The work of yours that I've seen, things like Ghost Rings and Singlet, and now you're Wendy. You are a performer that I think has no problem connecting to the inner child, so to speak.
No, it's sick. It's grow up, Peter.
What I want to ask actually is, what was a couple things maybe that you learned as a child that have proved to be invaluable to who you are today as an artist and a performer?
My family is very playful. We're super teasy, and that it can be good and bad. The Michigan came right on out of me as I said that. I mean, I don't know. I think what happened was, when I made my show A Ride on the Irish Cream, I had a really luxuriously long process of making it, and the the goal of making that show was to try to remember things that I had never remembered before. And there weren't any memories that I hadn't remembered before, but there were all these feelings that came up that my body and my soul and my like capacity to understand emotions had never really acknowledged. And I think that was like the moment that I was like, oh, I'm going to give the child that is this like queer child with a sexuality the space that my family and the world didn't have the capacity to give me then, and I'm gonna give it to myself now.
Usually associate you with new work, so to see you in a revival, I'm like, this must be like a fucking amazing, exciting revival to get you involved. So are there any, musicals or any canon pieces of theater that you would just love to dissect in the way that this show is dissected?
Good question that I haven't thought about. Ish. I mean, it's like, I feel like being queer has taught me to always think about every classic work as something that I am casting myself in on some level and could never be in a real production of. So I feel like I've done that with like almost every work. The first thing that's coming to mind is Gypsy, but I could never decide which role that I'm playing because I'm just like, I'm all of them. I'm Louise. I'm Rose. I'm Dainty June. I'm the moo cow, Caroline. It's hard to pick. But I would like to have my hands a little dirtier in the conception and the decision making of like a classic. That's for sure. Whether or not I perform in it, there's always an opportunity to perform. But to sort of have the support, the institutional support, and the permission to make a lot of those conceptual decisions would be most exciting to me. Because, if you're a fully actualized self, you're every part. And guess what that means? You're the director.
You live for them.
Well, I know lots of stories. I could tell the boys.
Well, come on. We'll fly.
Fly? You can fly?
I'll teach you.
How lovely to fly!
I'll teach you how to jump on the wind's back, and away we go, Wendy. While you're sleeping in your silly bed, you might be flying about with me.
Thank you so much, Erin, for talking to us. We love your performance. Now we're headed to Hudson Valley for the Heart of Robin Hood, so let's go.
And we're at the Hudson Valley Shakespeare Festival. The gorgeous! Look at this. And there's some trees and people picnicking. It's amazing.
It is beautiful.
And we're here with Robin Kerr, who's playing Marion in The Heart of Robin Hood by David Farr and directed by Suzanne Agins.
Thank you for having us. I can't get over this at all.
Neither can I. Every day I come into work and I look at it and it still takes my breath away. It's ridiculous.
Can you describe for our viewers what the shows you're working on this summer are?
I'm in The Heart of Robin Hood. I play Maid Marian, and it is a twist on the classic Robin Hood story. And when we meet Marian, we realize that she is frustrated with the situation of the world and believes that people should be treated fairly, and she goes off to make all the wrongs right in the world and comes across Robin in the way, and they join forces. And she's certainly not our usual damsel in distress. She is very much a damsel who knows exactly what she's doing and doesn't need anybody to save her. If anything, she does the saving. And Rip Van Winkle is the first commissioned piece that they've had for the Hudson Valley, and it involves the community. So 4 actors have been hired to play the family, the Rip Van Winkle family, as well as another character in the play. And then the whole rest of the cast is filled up with community members. So there's 45 of us in the show, and we are building it together. And also community members are also helping with the building of the set and production, and it's for the community, by the community, and it's a new play, which is very exciting. And the wonderful Seth Boakley wrote it, and he's also directing it.
And I'm also curious, because you're a person of color and you're playing this role that's traditionally cast with, white ladies, and have you been getting positive feedback from just young women of color who are seeing this show and seeing that kind of representation?
You know what is so magical when you come out and there is a little girl, and sometimes we've had little girls who are not white who are waiting outside to say hi, to get an autograph. That just warms my heart. Or to see when you come outside as well and the kids are playing and you see little girls pretending to sword fight with each other and realizing that they don't, a princess doesn't have to just wait quietly for her prince to come along and save her. She is participating in the world and is fighting and is battling, and it's realizing that we are becoming more and more equal.
Can you tell us about the very first time that you saw yourself on stage represented?
The first time I grew up in Jamaica, so I was lucky to see myself on stage all the time, and the first big Broadway West End play I saw was Starlight Express. So again, I saw people like me on stage, and then the second one I saw was Cats, and again there was all these mixtures of cultural backgrounds and races. So to me, I just thought, oh, that's the world. And it wasn't until I left home and started going to drama school in the UK, and that's when I started to see theatre where there was less of me represented. In my school, I was the only person of colour in my year. As I got down to London and started to work professionally, and seeing my friends who were not of colour had more auditions, going to the theatre and seeing there was far less people who looked like me, and that the frustration started to grow. I gave up acting for a couple of years as well, and when I came back into it, that frustration just was growing and growing and growing. And luckily, my best friend and I had contacts with a lawyer, and I made the choice to come to America because I know there were more opportunities here for people who look like me.
Well, because you've lived in 3 different countries, like how does American theater compare to like British theater and Jamaican theater? And which one's better?
Oh, you put me on a spot. Well, Jamaican theatre is very, very connected to the culture. So I think there's often, I think that if you were to come and see a full-on Jamaican play, it might be hard to understand because the dialect is very broad. But what I do love so much about it is that the way that the culture is, the audience is definitely the final character of the show. There is talk back and expressive emotions as the story is being told. In London, I would say they're far more quiet.
They're quiet here too.
But it's steeped in so much history, the theatre in Britain. It's incredible, and I've seen some of the most beautiful work in my life there. What I like that's changing there is that now this kind of work is being open to a more diverse group of actors. So I think it will become a place that is going to be even more exciting for me personally. Also, in America, what I've noticed is how much people love and appreciate Shakespeare here. It's so wonderful. And to hear Shakespeare in another accent, to hear it in an American accent, there's some things that I feel become even more clear to me. And I don't know if it's because the accent is still different to what I'm used to. I haven't lived here long enough yet for it to become a second nature accent to me. So I feel like I listen in a different way. I think I'm more excited about Shakespeare having been here than when I was in Britain. I think because it's this given, it's like Shakespeare, yeah, of course. But here he's celebrated in a different way.
And we're here on the Pemberley estate. So, New Yorkers, if you want to escape from New York for the summer, you can go to Bard or you can go to Hudson Valley. There's so many other places so close to the city where you can just get away from it all.
And you won't even miss the culture because the shows we saw are so good.
Yeah, and you can hear us analyze them on the Token Theater Friends podcast. Just subscribe on iTunes, leave us a review, or if you just like watching us talk at you with our pretty faces, then continue watching Token Theater Friends, the YouTube series. And as always, theater is more fun when you take your friends. Bye.